This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello and welcome to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Thank you for joining us today. We're your hosts. My name is Marcie Davis, and my co-host is my amazing service dog, Fenway. And we're so excited to be with you today to talk about our favorite subject, and you know what that is, working dogs and working animals. And today we are welcoming Chris Diefenthaler, who is the Executive Director of Assistance Dogs International. And Assistance Dogs International is a coalition of nonprofit organizations that raise, train, and place assistance dogs. And we know them usually as ADI. And so they don't directly provide training or register individual assistance dogs, but they are the leading authority in the development of standards in the assistance dogs industry. So they are super important to this work, and we are so thrilled that Chris is with us today. So come right back after these quick messages as we welcome Chris Diefenthaler to the show.
You know the expression, cats have 9 lives. Well, what if you can give them one more? The Give Them 10 movement is on a mission to help give cats an extra life. How? With spay and neuter. Spaying or neutering your cat helps them live a longer, healthier life. And it helps control free-roaming cat populations too. Learn more about the benefits of spay and neuter and meet Scooter, the neutered cat, at GiveThem10.org. That's GiveThem10.org.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. We're so excited to have Chris Diefenthaler from Assistance Dogs International on the show today. Hello, Chris, and welcome.
Yeah, well, welcome, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time because ADI is just, I always look at it as just the authority and just the pinnacle of this industry. So give us some history. Tell us about ADI, the organization. How did it come to be, Chris? Give us some history.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're actually been around a really long time, actually. The organization was first formed back in the mid-1980s. And that was the time where in 1986, the American with Disabilities Act became law in the U.S. And the assistance dogs organizations at the time, there were 6 hearing dog organizations and 1 service dog organization that realized they really need to come together and work together and collaborate to really build the awareness of the concept and the laws around assistance dogs being trained for other disabilities and the public access privileges then that were granted to those individuals that had assistance dogs. The general public was at the time usually very familiar with guide dogs for the visually impaired, but the concept of dogs being trained for other types of disabilities was a fairly new concept at the time, and knew they needed to really build awareness around it. And then they also recognized the importance of creating standards so individuals could expect a high quality assistance dogs if they're working with an organization that does that type of work.
And how did the standards evolve, Chris? How did you guys get together to really start organizing that?
Yeah, as far as the organization then incorporated in 1988. And then in the early 1990s, they set about working together in committees and work groups to put together the standards of excellence at the time. And so those were adopted then in the mid-1990s with then the accreditation process was then developed in the early 2000s that then allowed our member organizations to go through a formalized process so they could demonstrate they were meeting all of ADI standards. And so that happened in the early 2000s.
Cool. Well, and did I hear you correctly, Chris? You said there were 6 hearing dog agencies and 1 service dog agency back in the mid 80s when you first started with ADI?
That's correct. Yes.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. I wouldn't have thought there were 6 hearing dog agencies. That's amazing that there were that many way back in the day.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the first type of disabilities that they recognized a dog could easily recognize sounds and then alert their individual that those sounds were happening in their environment, such as someone knocking at the door, alarm going off, whether it's smoke alarm or a time alarm of some type. So it gave individuals with a hearing impairment a lot of peace of mind of a dog being able to wake them up in the middle of the night if a smoke detector was going off, and the importance of those type of skills that could be available with a trained assistant.
Yes. Life-changing. Yeah, that's so wonderful. Well, and were most of those agencies in the United States? And was the service dog agency Canine Companions?
It was all U.S. based at that time, and the Canine Companions was the service dog organization that was involved in this process. At the time, Bonnie Bergen was the executive director or CEO of Canine Companions, and she was involved in the initial development of ADI.
Yeah. Wow. That's been a long time, Chris. That's wonderful. I have to say, I got my first service dog back in 1993. Yep. So totally dating myself. But yeah, that was way back in the early days when, like you said, when people were just starting to really discover all the other tasks that dogs could do for people with disabilities. Wow. So when it started, how did it start mushrooming to the other parts of the planet? Tell us about how ADI evolved to be the international organization that it is now.
Yes, it's really quite remarkable how the organization started and where we are today. And it was really by the dedication and passion of the board and the membership of ADI back in the early 2000s. They originally formed as in knowing they wanted to become a truly international organization. So it was originally developed as Assistance Dogs International. And so they reached out to a few members they were aware about internationally and asked them if they would be interested in joining ADI. And then in around 2003, Assistance Dogs Europe had also formed an association, and one of their representatives had become involved with ADI, and they saw a real opportunity to merge the two organizations together to really have an international presence and really grow the industry globally. So in about the mid-2000s, they decided to actually change the structure of ADI and our board and representation to truly have an international representation. So at that time, they changed the makeup of our board and created regional councils that could still focus on the regional issues that were specific to that area, but then also collaborate together and to really move the organization forward and build the reputation and the standards awareness globally.
That's so cool. Well, and tell us, how many members do you have now? And And what are your strongest countries, Chris, where you have representation?
Yeah, we have 168
Oh
accredited
my goodness.
members
That's
globally.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they're spread across the globe. We have 3 official regions, which is our North America region, which is U.S. and Canada. And then we have a European region, which encompasses the European countries. And then we have an Oceania and Asia region, which is our Australia, New Zealand, and some of the representations in Asia. And we have a few members outside of those areas that we're still growing and developing and meeting with potential new organizations in those areas with the hopes of planning and growing a region in South America as well as in Africa.
That's wonderful. Well, and so for the accreditation process, are you accrediting service dogs, hearing dogs? What all types of working dogs does ADI accredit, Chris?
Yeah, actually, ADI accredits the organizations. And that accreditation process is all about the member organization demonstrating compliance with all of ADI standards. So the actual accredited is actually the organization. Those organizations, then the dogs that they are training and placing then can be called ADI certified. And that means that organization is attesting that the dog that is trained and placed with an individual does meet all of ADI standards for assistance dogs. Our member organizations are quite varied. They could be a very small organization with an all-volunteer members of their organization staff, to organizations that are also very large with many staff that train and place hundreds of dogs. Some of the smaller organizations may only train and place 1 or 2 dogs a year. And that is, I think, one of the strengths of ADI is that our standards can be met by all different size organizations, as well as the all different size types of dogs that are trained. Terminology is really very important with assistance dogs. There's a lot of confusion on terminology, and ADI really uses the term assistance dog to be the broad term that encompasses guide dogs, hearing dogs, and service dogs. And guide dogs being for the visually impaired or blind, the hearing dogs for individuals that are deaf or hard of hearing, and then service dogs is another very broad category that really includes all other types of disabilities, such as seizure alert service dogs, autism service dogs, mobility service dogs, psychiatric service dogs.
Does it include facility dogs, Chris?
Actually, facility dogs are not an assistance dog because they are really trained to support or to help groups of people, not one particular individual. So facility dogs, while they're extremely important and very valuable in many communities, and many of our members train facility dogs, they are not actually, we do not consider them an assistance dog because they don't have public access privileges.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. But is Courthouse Foundation, are they one of your members, Chris?
They're one of our partner organizations. They don't actually train and place dogs, so they cannot be a member of ADI. But ADI does recognize that many organizations really support our members and provide services to our members that are very valuable and important. And Courthouse Dogs Foundation is one of our affiliated partner organizations. And they really work with our member organizations that want to train courthouse facility dogs. And so they really work with our organizations and the legal systems that are in courthouses and advocacy centers that really want to incorporate a courthouse dog into their operations.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying all this, Chris. This is such great information because, like you said, there is so much confusion around all of these different types of of service and facility and hearing and guide, all these different kinds of jobs that dogs have. So thank you so much for clarifying all this. And we are going to take just a super quick break and hear some important messages from our sponsors. And we're going to come right back and keep visiting with Chris Diefenthaler from Assistance Dogs International about all this wonderful information that we're getting to educate ourselves about what's happening in this exciting industry. So come right back.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand, only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. We're visiting today with Chris Diefenthaler from Assistance Dogs International. And Chris, we were talking before the break about the accreditation process, and I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that, because I love what you said about how large organizations can be a member as well as small organizations. So tell us a little bit more. What is the accreditation process like?
Yeah, the accreditation process is really quite an intensive and comprehensive process. So our members that have completed this process are very proud of the fact that they are now an ADI accredited member, because it is a very comprehensive and thorough evaluation of their organization. ADI has 10 series of standards and multiple standards under each category that organizations must meet and show demonstration of. So this process does take a lot of time and effort on the organizations to complete. They must submit a pre-packet, which includes a lot of sample or their policies and procedures that demonstrate they are meeting the standards that are identified. And then once they complete that pre-packet, an accreditation assessor is assigned to their accreditation survey. The assessor then reviews the pre-packet and then contacts the organization to set up interviews. It's important that organizations have policies and procedures, but it is more important that those policies and procedures are known and are implemented within the organization and working real life. So those interviews are really about making sure that all of their volunteers, staff, board members, that the graduates are all interviewed to hear about their experiences with the organization and to have really a thorough understanding if their policies and procedures are being followed. So it's a very thorough process on the interviews. And then following the interviews, the assessor actually schedules a site visit that could take 2 to 3 days, depending on the scope of their organization. If they're doing a training in a prison program environment, that facility is also visited. They're looking and observing their training, meeting with clients, meeting with staff again. So it's really a very thorough process. So once all that information is gathered, reports are submitted, and then an accreditation review committee reviews all of that information as well as their pre-packet, and they make then the final determination if an organization has successfully completed the accreditation process.
Yeah, that sounds like a really thorough process. I have had the privilege of being a graduate that's been interviewed for Assistance Dogs of the West, where Fenway was trained. Yeah, and it is a wonderful process. And that was part of the site visit that you mentioned. They had the representative there, and I got to be interviewed, and it was, it was really an exciting process. How long does the whole process take, Chris? Because it seems really in depth.
Yeah, our candidate program is a 2 to 5 year program that organizations that wish to become an accredited member can apply and be approved as a candidate organization. And during that 2 to 5 years as a candidate, they have the opportunity to go through an education online platform. They are included in our networking groups. They're invited to attend our conferences and our workshops, all in an effort to make sure that they are receiving the education they need to really meet ADI standards and share learn some best practices from other members, develop relationships with those other members, other candidates. Again, our members are global, and so many times they are spread out, so they don't really get an opportunity to meet with other organizations and share that best practice. And so that's a big part of a benefit of being an ADI accredited member is that relationship that they can build with each other. Mm-hmm. But the candidate program, then they have 2 to 5 years to complete the process.
Well, and you mentioned just briefly there, which is something I wanted to ask you about, and that is your conference and the training that ADI provides. Because I've always heard about your conference. So tell us a little bit about that, about what all your members have access to.
Absolutely. It's one of our most popular activities that ADI does for our member organizations. And we have been doing an annual conference. However, recently, our members also expressed an interest to have more small group workshops. So last year, actually 2 years ago, ADI decided to go to an every other year conference, which is bringing everybody together. And then in the opposite years, offering more small group workshops. And so these conferences and workshops are a huge event and all to benefit our member organizations. Our membership, the culture of sharing best practices is a huge part of ADI, and their willingness to share what they know and share what has worked well for them so other organizations can really benefit from their knowledge and experience. And these conferences are also, again, a great opportunity to really network with each other and share and get to build those relationships that can really go on after the conference. So an organization feels comfortable, they could pick up on the phone or send an email to someone they met at the conference and ask questions, ask advice or guidance, because we all share the similar experiences.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, and so Chris, is it true that you're retiring at the end of the year and that ADI is in the process of searching for a new executive director?
Yes, I had decided that I've been with ADI for 8 years. I'm also very close to retirement age. And so I made the decision last July and notified the board of directors that I intended to retire at the end of 2025. So the board has been busy and they made the announcement in January with then call out to people for applications and resumes. They are in the middle right now of the process of interviewing for the successor executive director. So we hope in the next 3 to 4 months, a new successor will be identified. So the transition training can then start at the end of this year.
Well, yeah. Well, congratulations on that big decision for yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exciting for you. And I'm sure that they're sad that you are stepping away, but appreciate your leadership, Chris. And you've just taken the organization, so much further in your 8 years. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. This industry and the people involved in the industry are extremely passionate. And once you are in this industry, it really never leaves you.
Right. It gets in you. It gets in your blood. Yes, it does.
Exactly. So I anticipate I will still be somewhat involved in a more lesser capacity in some way, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to enjoy also some time where I'm not fully consumed.
Yes, which is important in life. Yes, yes. Well, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that the new executive director will have?
Well, I think the industry is evolving and changing, and it has become very evident that the problems of people presenting their dogs as fake assistance dogs, or maybe they really are an assistance dog, but they're not properly trained, and so they are very disruptive out in public, and then the public's perception is really affected by that. And our graduates are really experiencing a lot more access issues out in public because of it. We just released a report on Paws for Access that's available on our website that really, we did a very comprehensive survey in partnering with the International Guide Dog Federation. And we surveyed all of our graduates and asked them to tell us about their access issues, and we really want to know where are the problems and what are their experiences.
And what was the big takeaway from that?
Yeah, there are some big takeaways in that it is becoming an even bigger problem because of their experience in coming across dogs that are not properly trained and maybe are reacting to seeing a dog out in public. They're acting in a very disruptive way. And so it's really primarily the report identifies some areas that ADI could focus on. And so that's what ADI and IGDF will be looking at, what potential actions or campaigns could we put together to really improve that issues that they're experiencing, such as in ride shares, in medical facilities, in restaurants and cafes, where they are experiencing the access issues.
I would agree with that. I know for me, I am always so worried when I'm out in public with Fenway. I'm worried about that, about other dogs that are not properly trained, because I've had some very negative experiences with almost every one of my dogs with that occurring out in public. It's very concerning. So I'm so thrilled to hear about Paws for Access. That's wonderful. We'll make that available so that our listeners can see that information that you gathered. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, some individuals, graduates are really, I guess, experiencing such stress and that they're really reconsidering even taking their dog out in public, which is very, very hard, discerning.
Yeah, I totally have been in that position. Absolutely. I do think about that. Whenever I'm going out, I think about where I'm going and what the risk is for Fenway. Yeah. So I'm so glad that you guys are talking about that. That is very real. Yeah, huge, huge issue for safety and that public access. It's so true. Well, so what do you think about when the new person comes on? What's going to be your transition with the new executive director?
Well, there's a lot going on within EI. So we're really working on a lot of different projects. We've got some strategic directives that the board is really looking at, which I can't really promote at this time. But there are a lot of great and exciting projects that are going on within the organization. And education is where I really think the future of ADI is going to. We want to be the leading authority and provide those education opportunities for individuals that want to become an assistance dog trainer or want to be and get involved with one of our member organizations. Volunteers are a really important part of our member organizations. And so our members are really looking for dedication and dedicated volunteers that want to be involved in organizations so they can train and place more dogs.
Yeah, those volunteers and puppy raisers are just so critical. Yes, yeah, I could see that as being such a big focus for them. And I just want to ask you, I'm curious. So you mentioned the three different regions that you have, the North American, the European region, and the Oceania Asia region. Which of those do you think is the most progressive in the assistance dog industry, in your opinion?
I don't know if progressive is the right word. We're all very similar. I think, the growing of the concepts of assistance dogs and the development of other dogs being trained for growing needs in the mental health field, in other types of medical alert type dogs that are being trained. So I think across the globe, innovation is a big part of what our members are certainly looking at to make sure that when an individual approaches an organization and says, I think a dog could help me with my particular disability, that they can look and really make that decision if a dog is capable and is something that would be beneficial. So innovation is a big part of our member organizations, and I see that continuing to evolve.
That's so wonderful. I mean, it's such a fascinating industry, and I'm just so thrilled that we have an organization internationally like ADI that is leading this, Chris. It's just wonderful. And I could talk to you about this all day. I'm just so thrilled that you could stop by with us today and share all of this. And we're wishing you all the best in your next chapter, but know that you'll be still closely linked with ADI and the amazing work that is happening throughout the whole globe. So before you leave us, Chris, tell our listeners how they can get more information about Assistance Dogs International. Is it Facebook, your website, Instagram? Where can we find ADI?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in all areas, as most organizations are. We do have a wonderful and very informative website at assistancedogsinternational.org. And then we are on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Sky Blue is a new one. And so we are out there. We try to, again, spread awareness, provide great stories, connect with our member organizations, because that's really what is important, is that our clients, the clients that are looking for an assistance dog, we have a link on our website that they can put in their location and receive a list of organizations and the types of dogs that they train in their area to try to find an organization that could potentially help someone.
Yes. And that's the question I get all the time when people are just starting out and trying to find an organization. And your website, Assistance Dogs International, is where I refer people so that they can look and see what agencies are out there on the whole planet that might be appropriate for them and the best fit for them on their journey. So it's just such an honor to have you with us today, Chris. And thank you so much for the work that ADI is doing every day and for the work that you're doing to take this industry forward in the future. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you again for inviting me to really share about Assistance Dogs International. I thank you.
Well, it is a pure pleasure for us, and we can't wait to meet the new executive director and hear about the wonderful work that the organization is going to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure they will find a wonderful leader to follow in my footsteps. And I'm sure they would love to be on your show again as well.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. And thank you, our listeners, for being with us today. We love to hear from you. So please, let's stay connected. And you know that you can email me at Marcie, Marcie, at PetLifeRadio.com. We'd love to get your emails and hear about what you're doing with your assistance dogs. And we love to hear your questions and thoughts for future shows. So please keep those coming and let us hear from you. So thanks so much for being with us and take good care.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.